What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Panthers Advice. I just recorded this whole video, but my mic was on mute. So we're going to try this again, man. We're going to react to probably one of the worst takes I've heard about Bryce Young. And not just a take from anybody. This is a person who has a show on Fox Sports, man. Let's jump into the video, man. We're not going to waste any time. I've already done this once. Let's try this again.
Dave Canales, who is known for his work with quarterbacks. And here's what he said about the quarterback he'll be coaching next year, Bryce Young. Here's what he said.
And just building off of that, things that stick out for me right away is just the accuracy, the mobility, the courage in the pocket, maybe a little too courageous at times, so we'll I'm sure he's learning the urgency it takes to play quarterback in this league. But a guy that's wired the right way, that came back every week and just battled.
So before we listen to what Mr. Carton has to say, and I got to tell you, I hope you're ready for his take. Let's talk about what Dave said real quick. The first thing he said was accuracy. Now, Bryce is a very accurate passer. We didn't see it a lot, whether it was the play calling, whether it was the line, or maybe Bryce holding onto the ball, waiting for Adam to get open. We didn't see it a lot, but we do know he's an accurate passer. But let's talk about a couple of things Dave said Bryce has to work on. One of those is being too courageous in the pocket. Now, Bryce is courageous in the pocket, but Dave noticed that Bryce can sometimes try to play hero ball when he doesn't have to. For instance, I think it was the Tampa Bay game late in the season, correct me if I'm wrong. He had the guy open underneath, instead tries to go over the top and then gets picked off. That's what Dave was referencing. The other one was the urgency, and we've talked about this a lot. 2 to 3 seconds in, Bryce is still standing like this, right? Kind of waiting to throw. His hips aren't open. Most quarterbacks, their hips are open, right? Bryce, I mean, look at this. I can't bring my arm any farther back than this. Bryce somehow can. But do this, bring it back, right? Follow through. That's what Bryce should be doing. But now, let's listen to what Mr. Carton has to say.
Okay.
He's wrong, but okay.
Did Dave Canales turn Bryce Young?
No, and I said this when he got drafted. This would be a terrible draft pick. Bryce Young belongs in the UFL.
Stop.
Bryce Young is not an NFL quarterback.
Great.
And I'm not saying he's not a good kid or a great athlete. Clearly he is. But Bryce Young at 5'2" cannot be a successful quarterback in the NFL. I don't care what Coach Canales has done in his past.
All right. The first thing we have to address is I hate when there's big time sports people like this who have their show talking about sports, and they can't give me an actual take with some type of study behind that. And what I mean by that is his only take is Bryce Young being 5'2". That's it. Now that works if you want to talk about his rookie year before he played a single game, and you want to say, okay, Bryce Young won't have success because he's 5'2". We just had a whole year of film, and you can't give me anything. You can't give me anything other than he's 5'2", it won't work. Come on, man. You work at Fox Sports. You work with a bunch of NFL guys. You got to give me something. Have some sort of credibility other than he's 5'2". Let's keep it going.
But this is why I said back in April of a year ago that C.J. Stroud was the obvious #1 pick. And if you took Bryce Young, you were making a mistake, and you could check the tapes. I said it.
Congratulations. You picked one of the two favorites. I hate when people say this. Check the tape. I predicted it. It was either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. It's not like you predicted a long shot, right? You either wanted C.J. Stroud for his arm power, or you wanted Bryce Young because they said he was the most NFL ready. We see his footwork. He definitely has a little bit of work to do. But it's not like you went out and scouted the guy and said, oh, no, this guy's it. Trust me. Nobody knows what they're talking about. There was a ton of people who wanted C.J. Stroud. There was a ton of people who wanted Bryce Young. It was 50-50. But to say, check the tape, I called it, everyone called it. Literally everyone called it depending on throw power. You either wanted somebody who could launch the ball or you wanted somebody who was more of your prototypical quarterback. It wasn't a crazy take to say you wanted C.J. Stroud, man. Let's keep it going.
Because as great as he was in college, as smart as he is, as athletic as he is, he's not an NFL quarterback. He's almost like, to me, he's like Dave Megot. He's like a third down specialty back, or maybe a slot receiver on 3rd and 2.
Like I said, it just keeps getting better and better. And here's the problem I have with this, right? It goes back to what I just said earlier. He talks about no matter how great he was in college, no matter how smart he was, no matter how athletic he was, Well, I mean, you take those three things alone, right? You're great in college, okay. That means there's potential for you to be not necessarily great in the NFL, but good in the NFL. Then you talk about he's smart. Well, that's a pretty big factor, right? Being able to be smart in the NFL, progressing through your reads, and then being athletic, that's what most teams want nowadays. And yet you give me no negatives. You give me no negatives. Now, obviously, I'm a Bryce Young fan, so I'm going to side with him, but give me something to counter other than he's 5'2". Goes back to what I said earlier. You have a year of film on him, and you can't give me anything negative other than he's 5'2", he's 5'5". Yes, that's definitely not helping Bryce Young's case. But if that's your only knock on him, I mean, come on, man. How is that an argument? That doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
He is not an NFL quarterback. He will never have great success in the NFL. And it was one of the worst picks a team has ever made in the history of the NFL while picking number one.
That right there is a crazy take. Now, I don't know how much he believes that and how much of that is just for, clicks, etc. But one of the worst picks, he didn't say the worst, I'll give him that. He said one of the worst picks. And again, it all goes back to his height. Now, yes, if you want to talk about the trade and include that, once again, something else he can't include that he doesn't. I mean, you're starting to see who this guy is, right? But if you want to include the trade, then maybe you can make your case. But to say it's one of the worst picks and you just called him smart, athletic, and everything else, and the only negative thing you have about him is his height, then say he's one of the worst. Come on, man. Let's keep it going.
Ask the Houston Texans if they wish they'd gotten Bryce Young.
That's a horrible take considering they don't have an offensive line. They have Adam Thielen.
Receiver.
Really, slide. You're talking about Adam Thielen, who's 33 years old.
He's a scat back.
It's pretty much what Justin Fields went through.
Yeah.
Bottom line. Bryce Young can play football.
No, he cannot.
He needs help.
No, he can't.
He don't have help.
Have some pushback. He talks about who would the Texans want. I mean, hindsight's 2020, right? C.J. Stroud fits that offense. He was hitting tank deep before he got hurt. You got Nico. You got Mechie. There's a lot of guys on there that fit for CJ. Now let's talk about the Panthers. Could CJ have helped the Panthers win any more games? I mean, potentially, maybe 2 or 3. And the only reason I say that is because Bryce Young's footwork didn't really get any better until, the latter half of the season. But here's the thing. Who was CJ going to throw to in the Panthers offense? Let's talk about this real quick. You got Adam Thielen, who Bryce was throwing to a lot as it was, right? Mingo, Maybe, but even if he starts to go to Mingo, they're just going to bring a safety over the top on Mingo's side, right? So they're going to put a nickelback on Adam, safety over the top on Mingo if he tries to go deep. Who else is there? DJ was hurt, third of the year, give or take? Didn't see LaVisca. Got Amir late. Guys, who else is there? Ian Thomas? Sullivan? Who was CJ going to elevate to be that second, third guy? Other than Mingo. I mean, there was nobody. And then you talk about the run game, right? The run game should set up the play action, should set up the deep pass. Look at Miles with Nick Sirianni. That's a new school coach. Then you bring him to Frank. That's an old school coach. Look how the offenses are different from 10, 15 years ago, 15, 20 to now. Completely different. A lot of RPO-based schemes, basically run in space. Frank wants to run you through the tackles, right? That was never going to work with Miles. So the first half of the season was a dub because that's what they were trying to do with Miles, and it never worked. So yes, hindsight's 2020. I'm sure the Texans are happy with C.J. Stroud, but I don't think C.J. would do a lot with this Panthers team because who was he going to go to? Let's keep it going.
But the man went to Alabama and bowled out of his skull.
Doesn't matter.
What do you mean? SEC is the hardest
stop and have him play spread offenses, and everybody's wide open.
So right there is interesting, right? Because his colleague goes, he can play in the NFL. Carton says, no, he can't, right? And then he goes, doesn't matter. So then what happens next? His colleague goes, well, what about the success he had at Alabama? Well, spread offense, everyone's open. Whoa, you're telling me it's not because in college the guys were shorter or slower. You're telling me it's because they were open? That's why Bryce Young had success in college? So if his guys are open in the NFL, you're telling me there's a chance. I mean, that's basically what you've just said. The only counter you've had was his height. But now you're telling me in college, the only reason he had success was because his guys were open. You didn't talk about the offensive line, maybe blocking longer. No. Your only counter was the guys were open. So you're telling me if Bryce Young has guys open, there's a chance he can have success. Let's keep it going.
This is not a personal knock on Bryce Young.
The man was the first round draft pick, you call him a slot receiver.
Not even. He's more of like a run and shoot receiver. Right?
So that right there pretty much sums it up. Hearing this dude talk about Bryce just gives me a headache. You know, I'm fine hearing Bryce slander and hearing points to back it up. But to hear he's 5'2", he's 5'2", it gets annoying. And then to not even address how Dave has helped rejuvenate Geno, save Baker's career, because if Baker had another bad or not so good season, he was probably done. Dave basically saved Baker. And I don't know that he saved Baker, but he showed the potential what Baker can do if he's in the right offensive scheme. I think Baker, he wasn't bad, but Dave really brought out the potential. And it goes back to what I said earlier in the video. Dave knows that Bryce Young, his urgency isn't there. He's got to be quicker, right? But he also knows that Bryce Young's accurate. He knows Bryce Young's courageous, but sometimes too courageous. Dave sees a lot of this stuff, and I think that's how he's going to build his game plan around Bryce, which is why I'm excited for this season. Let me know what you guys think. What did you guys think of this man's crazy take? I mean, this was just wild to me. I'll catch you guys on the next one. We're going to start film soon, going over some rookies. Stay tuned for that. I'll catch you guys on the next one.